melanogenesis, we have neurogenesis, we can create new neurons, we have, lipogenesis, we can create fat cells, myogenesis, muscle cells. Like everywhere in the body, there's always this constant death and renewal. And that is what is so beautiful. It's like the process of decay. Like when I start to think about this, I start to think about like, you know, you ever watch those planetary documentaries where you're just watching like out in the wild, you're watching animals out in the wild, and it's like across all things, like, there's always death, like something's always dying, and I've talked about this before, like vegans and carnivores. Like, I don't really like how vegans don't view uh, eating plants as like not killing, because we are killing plants, it's part of the life cycle. Every time I breathe, every time I take a small breath in, there are parts of me that are dying a little death and creating a new. And I think that's part of the collective dementia that we face, is that we really forget that we're not a body. I'm not Rachel necessarily. Like, I have a personality, and that's always changing, but I am really a product of trillions and trillions of cells that are working together. And even you go into the gut bacteria, there's trillions of more cells down there who are controlling all these cravings. The little voice in the head is being controlled by all these little factories, all these biochemical processes. So like, let's say like you're not really into science, you're not really into health, which I don't know. I talk a lot about this on here. So, for me, life and studying biochemistry, doing exercise, eating, everything like that, for me, it was like, okay, I need to put on my science cap. I am now a scientist. I am a biochemist. Everything that I look at is data collection. Every time I feel a certain way, let's say I feel low. I feel like, because when I was going through a really hard phase, I was really insulin resistant, had a lot of weight on me, struggled with acne, was taking medications for anxiety, depression, back in the gap. I would hit these periods in the afternoon where I felt so empty, so low. The only thing that I wanted to do was go to sleep. So I would take these depression naps. I would lay down, take literally like a 2 to 4 hour nap in the middle of the afternoon. Around 3 p.m., it was like unbearable to be awake. I did not know what to do with myself. My friends would make fun of me. They would always say, me and my sister are like, Rachel Robin probably taking a nap. Yeah, bro, because I am miserable here. I don't even know why I'm here. I was so empty. And come to find out, looking back at my journey, looking back at my acne, the way that I was feeling, how my weight was fluctuating, and my memory especially too. And now I looked back and I was like, I just needed some support from my environment. I was not supported, not by the relationships that I held, not by my food, not by my exercise, and not by like my daily habits, the ways in which I connect with myself. So I started to go towards more of a carnivore ketogenic diet. I wanted to get off the anti-anxiety medications. I was like, okay, Rachel, every morning we're gonna wake up, we're gonna eat eggs, because eggs seem to have all the amino and the fatty acids that we need. This is where serotonin comes from. This is the medicine that you're taking. We're going to do this. And, then you start to look into everything. Like my sleep cycle, my circadian rhythm, flip-flop. So awful, so bad, right? I was up all night, wanted to sleep all day. You start to eat more protein. You're eating tryptophan, it's breaking down into melatonin. I mean, it's breaking down into serotonin, that's breaking down into melatonin. It is the driver of the circadian rhythm. Protein is the driver of the circadian rhythm. And there's no supplement out there that will help all of this beauty and this complexity come together like Mama Nature intended. There's a really great doctor you guys should look up. His name's Dr. Zach Bush. He's done a lot of cancer research. He's worked in hospice, and he is a wonderful, grounded human being, just a wonderful individual. The way he talks about it, just listening to a podcast yesterday, he was talking about how it's not only our relationship with food, it's our relationship with everything that we have, our relationship with every person that we hold. And it's like, I think, depression and stuff, when life rips the mask off of you and you start to look around and like all your relationships are falling apart, nothing is working out, you keep getting in fights with people, job is aggravating, you feel out of place, everything feels off in life, that is like the mask is being unveiled. And that's the dark night of the soul. That's the moment in time. And what I learned was when I felt those low points, and still, if I ever feel like I am disconnected or I feel empty, I'm like, okay, I look at my environment, I say, have I eaten enough protein today? Have I been over exercising? Do I need to sit with myself and just meditate for a moment? Go inside, open my sinus cavity. That's a huge part. And like, you can sit down with yourself and open up and relax all your muscles. Like we are constantly in this constricted state, in this narrow myopic state, and distracted, brought outside of ourselves, and we sit in this tension. And A Course in Miracles, they say it's like sitting, tension would be like sitting in hell on earth, because we're not supposed to sit in tension for extended periods of time. Being in the sympathetic state of the nervous system, we have parasympathetic, sympathetic, we're stuck in that sympathetic state. That is so much magnesium. That is so much calcium. That is way too many minerals and nutrients to stay in this tense, vigilant, about to fight or flight state all the time. We are not designed to do that. We are designed to be in parasympathetic most of the time, and then go through periods of stress and really recuperate fast. So if you look at the sleep cycles per night, we're supposed to go like through 5 90-minute sleep cycles. If you look at it, it's parasympathetic for a really long time, REM sleep. So really rapid eye, sympathetic, then parasympathetic, REM sleep, rapid eye movement. If you look at those 5 cycles, like the sympathetic tone becomes a little bit more as we start off really in long parasympathetic, long deep sleep cycles, and it kind of shortens throughout the night. This process of sleeping, is the process of the autonomic nervous system. It's also the process of like, it's sexual arousal too. We can't be aroused if we're not in the parasympathetic state, and so like a lot of people who struggle with, there's a lot of men who struggle with like erectile dysfunction, for instance, and libido is a huge thing, right? And you have to look at like, okay, if I'm struggling with this, am I also struggling with my sleep? Yes. Okay, if I'm struggling with this, all right, well, maybe I need more melatonin, because I know melatonin is linked to that deep sleep phase, right? Melatonin is the nighttime molecule. Melatonin is Mama Nature's just, oh my gosh, she is just a gem. Like, again, if you just look at the aging process, and like I said, when I was going through my roughest times, my circadian rhythm was flipped. In all disease states, the circadian rhythm will flip. So we have trouble sleeping at night because our cortisol is spiking, and then we have trouble handling sugar during the day. We just gain weight and we feel tired, and it's just like this whole like working against my hormone cascade. And it's not within the biological design. We are designed to be like happy, healthy, vibrant creatures. By design, we are designed to be in the state of childlike wonder, curiosity, humor, intelligence. Like we, capable of so much. Like memory, for instance, is like probably the biggest thing. I'm always talking about dementia. Memory goes with dementia. But we are designed to be incredibly intelligent. Like our bodies are. Like you cut yourself on a piece of paper, boom, healing. There is cells rushing to the scene, rushing to stop the blood flow. That's a lot of work being done. Even to smile at someone, like there's a lot of muscles in the face. Like talking, there's so many muscles, there's so many reactions, so much magnesium to express. And it's beautiful. And when we're stuck in this sympathetic state, we don't have as much energy, because again, it takes so much energy to be in this vigilant state. Like we're designed to be calm, collected, cool, and relaxed. And I'll say the biggest thing for me was resistance training. Resistance training saved my life. And actually, like I'm coming into a place within my own journey where it's like I'm getting back to resistance training. And because like it's been with me. It never could depart as being somewhat around me. But as I've been getting back into it like more seriously, it is more it is more the self-talk that I have with myself while I'm under the weights. And that is like when you are directly under that tension and that pressure, there's a conversation that is going on in your mind, and it's very intimate. Just like I gave up coffee for the last 7 days, and that conversation was very intimate with myself. And that is, with the coffee, it was like, just go get a little bit, just go have a little bit. And it's stepping back and saying, not right now, okay? Just wait a little bit. And it's this conversation of, I can do this. I can do this. I'm strong enough to do this. It's just right now. And when you get under the weight, when you are under that weight, it is that belief in yourself. You're never going to pick up that weight and be able to lift it if you're constantly thinking, oh my God, this is so heavy. I'm never going to be able to do this. You have to think like, I am so strong. I can do this. I'm doing this right now. It's going to be done. I am strong, sturdy, and stable. And so that's what I love. That's what I'm rediscovering about myself as I'm starting to really get back with the weight, is like this internal conversation. And, for me, like I there's so many benefits to weight training. Like, you are stimulating those GLP-1 pathways that everybody's crazy about. You're building muscle, you're building strength, you're building mitochondria, because you can't build muscle without building mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. You call upon them. And if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So if I'm not considering my mitochondria, say consideration is the highest form of love, if I don't consider them, then they can't make more of themselves. And mitochondria, they make more of themselves. If you ask them, they make more of themselves, and they make melatonin within the cell. They are actually making the most melatonin. They have their own DNA, mitochondrial DNA. And if you have been in this thought process of like, oh, it runs in my family, mitochondria, they are the generational curse breakers. They are the environmental cues. They have their own DNA. If they can make more of themselves, they can give energy to everything that needs to be worked on in the cell. They're going to rebuild your skin, rebuild your muscle, rebuild everything. They're going to lubricate your eyes if you have dry eyes, everything. They're going to take care of your joint spaces, take care of your vertebrae, everything. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and everybody learns about this, but what does it mean? And why, my thing is like, we know these things, but why is it so hard to really understand and to like, I'm feeling like I put something in my mouth and I want to really taste it, How can I really feel what it's like to have more mitochondria? You feel like just strong in your body. You feel sharp in your mind. You feel like your skeleton, you have good posture. Like, for instance, like even just posture alone, like it requires so much energy. And if you look around, like I made a video before, is poor posture an early sign of Alzheimer's dementia? You could argue, and I can argue and say, yes, it is. Why? Because the cerebellum is responsible for regulating our posture, regulates our glucose uptake, and the cerebellum is tight friends with the hippocampus, our memory center, which is most affected during Alzheimer's dementia. So the best way to communicate with the cerebellum and to sharpen the memory, sharpen the mind, is by engaging with our muscles, engaging with our posture muscles, and then ask myself, like, I need to eat nutrient-dense food. What is my body made of? Protein and fat. Again, I can make my own sugar through gluconeogenesis. So yeah, sometimes you could be a little bit flexible sometimes, but if you've been in a place where you feel like you've been struggling, carnivore ketogenic diet is really, really great. It can be really, really helpful. And when you start lifting weights, when you're just putting fuel in that's only helping you to rebuild and not having extra, I would say extra carbs, like it's not terrible to have them, but when you look at like what is a carb, it's sugar. So if my body can make its own sugar, maybe I want to see if like I can just go and make my own sugar, right? Like This is not recommendation at all. Just like sparking ideas of like what is our bodies capable of doing. And for me, I do better with more of a ketovore type of diet, like less carbs for sure. I'm just a very sensitive girl, and so like when I think about it, I try and exercise more earlier in the morning because I'm trying to make my own sugar, trying to make my own dopamine. I also have time throughout the day to recover. I feel like I recover better and I sleep a lot better. But I mean, everybody's body is different, but the beauty is that we all have these cells underneath. If you go in everybody's microbiome, like everybody's microbiome is different, yet there are certain gut bacteria, like Dr. David Perlmutter discovered in Brainmaker. There's certain gut bacteria that's linked to insulin resistance more than others. So I like again, I was talking about Dr. Zach Bush. When you feel like you have lost yourself outside, when nothing else is going right, that is the time when you feel empty in your life and things aren't working out. Those moments, go to the weights, go to the nutrient dense foods, go into the sun, it's just a symptom to reconnect with yourself, after you have been maybe not understanding that you've been in separation from yourself for a long time. And we lose ourselves in relationships with other people. We tend to sometimes overgive. I'm speaking for myself. I tend to lose myself. I lose my center. I'm a twin. Like, from a young age, I have been probably just in this more like traumatic, vigilant type of state where I'm just trying to make sure that everybody around me is good. I smile. Sometimes I went through this huge thing like years ago. It was like, why am I smiling in this room? Like, I don't feel like smiling. But I'm smiling because if I don't smile, then other people are going to think something's wrong with me. Now I'm just like, if I want to just be calm and be still and just sit. All the time, like my family would be like, Rachel, what's wrong with you? You seem not happy to be here. I'm like, I'm chilling. I'm good. But it's like, it's so difficult. It's even difficult for me now because I'm like, okay, people are gonna think that there's something wrong. But there's nothing wrong. Like, if you're content in your own space, if you're calm, cool, relaxed, whatever, that's better for everyone else. To wear the mask is not helpful to anyone. To exhaust yourself, and that's what is for me, was like, it's exhausting to be someone that you are not. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just a big fan of the posture muscles, big fan of carnivore keto. And I hope this video is helpful for you because really I love you. And like everybody goes through these phases in life where we have to turn in. Like everybody goes through these depression periods, like these hard circumstances in life where things seem dark and our energy levels are low. And we go through time periods of grief. You lose a friend. I mean, even just losing people, like not even people dying, but just like losing people that you really care about in your life, like for whatever reason, like it's not the time to connect with certain people, and it's sad sometimes too. And I got a big heart, so like I've I definitely grieve and feel a lot, and that can change your nutritional demands and your need for rest. But if there's one book that I could really recommend that wraps everything up together, is the book Breath by James Nestor. That book changed my life. Changed how I ate, changed how I slept, really taught me how to meditate, like what is the biochemistry happening within each breath. And the breath is where our spirits are. Mitochondria, all the energy in the cell, cellular respiration. This is where the Holy Spirit is. I'm not religious when I say that. The Holy Spirit, the spirit within you. We die and the body stays here. You go to the open casket, everything is rigid, it's stiff, it's cold. There's only one thing that keeps us warm-bodied, joyous, happy, and fluid, and that is the spirit, the energy, the life force that flows through us. And it is a complexity of things. But I feel like our belief is so important. Our belief is our blood sugar. Our belief is, when I sit here, and again, going back to the conversation that I have when I go and weight train, resistance train, I can do this. I am here. I'm strong. I'm sturdy. I can do this, and I will heal from this. it's that conversation. And I think when you go and you reinforce that under physical weight, because we are physical creatures, like we're spiritual creatures, but yet we come into these physical meat sacks, these bodies, and we have to embrace this swing. I remember, it's like the pendulum must swing. Talked about it before with the vegan and the carnivore diets. A lot of people think like it's like morally superior to have a vegan diet because you are having and keeping a higher energy frequency because it's lighter, but the pendulum has to swing. We are man-made. We have biochemistry, biochemical cascades, B vitamins. We have certain mineral nutrient requirements in order to even be grounded in a body. And I think that's so important. So the pendulum has to swing. We go from, being light to density creatures. And the thing I'm interested the most about this, and I'm not trying to be biased, I have a very open mind with this, but the thing that interests me the most is like experiences with ayahuasca. Like you have to eat a full plant diet, because if you drink ayahuasca or do DMT or something like that, you can overdose on serotonin. So they call it serotonin syndrome. So the pendulum, everything has to be held within the balance. So you go through this period of like lightness in order to connect with your spirit. But in the integration phase, you have to come back down. You have to connect with this physical nature of the body. And so, I don't know, that's kind of how I feel about it. When I think of like certain nutrients that aren't available within plant compounds, I think of B vitamin, I think of taurine, carnitine, creatine, these certain things that like I understand a lot of people are able to go with a plant-based diet. And there's even people like fruitarians and stuff who only eat fruit. I can't quite understand how it's sustainable long term. And the other thing that gets me is pregnancy nutrition. When you think of like these really stressful time periods within physical human nature, there are just things that are very much required for not only the growth of a new human, but the protection of the mother during that time. So if we don't have enough B vitamins, there's a whole slew of like birth defects and things like gestational diabetes, anemia during pregnancies, blood clotting, all these things that can happen to the mother if she doesn't have what she needs. So I think looking at pregnancy nutrition for me is like, that's one of the things that it's like, okay, there's something with the carnivore and ketogenic diet. So I like looking at that extreme, and then I like looking at plant medicine and what's going on with that. So it's all very interesting. Obviously, I love this stuff. But anyway, like I said, I hope this video is helpful for you. It's a little bit longer than what I'm used to. But I will catch you later, and I wish you the best of luck.